always write the name down. Welcome to In the Zone number 69. I am the guy with the name on the screen, Craig Zimmerman, and today's guest is a gentleman that comes to us via St. Clair High School, via Marysville. Roger Beedon, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you for coming by.
Thank you very much.
Our buddy Reed Packin had drafted you to do this, so we'll blame him if there's any issues here.
I think Reed said I couldn't wear this shirt as well,
So-
but that's why I'm wearing it.
But Reed is like 75 miles away in East
That's
Lansing,
right.
so there's nothing he can do about
There's
it.
nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
What a great guy.
Yeah.
Reed's awesome.
Reed helps Paul Dingman. Paul does the control room, as does Bruce Holliday, and those guys sort of do all the tough work. We do the
Okay.
easy work, just talking.
There you go. I can do that.
Yeah. As I tell people, it's pretty casual. We'll ask a few questions. There's nothing trickery about it.
Okay.
You know all the answers already. So you were born and raised where?
I was born in Port Huron, but I was raised in Marysville.
Okay.
Went to Marysville High School. And matter of fact, I own the house that my family grew up in.
Okay.
So my parents were looking to downsize at one time, and we were looking to have a bigger home, and it just worked out. So I've been in that home pretty much my entire life.
Okay. I have a similar situation because I bought my parents' home. So
Oh,
yeah,
very
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So you went to Marysville High School.
Yep.
And all the way through Marysville schools?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I started in Marysville at Washington Elementary and finished at Marysville High School.
Did your children go to the same grade school and everything you went to?
Yeah, which is kind of neat to
Yeah.
see. Some of the teachers that my son Brady had, I had,
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool for them to see a second generation come through.
Yeah.
So that's pretty neat.
Yeah. Now, how about your mother, father, siblings? How many of the siblings?
My mother and father are both from Port Huron.
Okay.
And I had three siblings.
Okay.
I have three siblings. I have three sisters. And they're all older than me.
Okay.
And I was the youngest and the only boy.
Okay.
So, yeah, they'll claim I was a little bit spoiled growing
Okay.
up, but they're probably right.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So is there some connection then to the Big Reds and all that with parents that were born in Port Huron, or is it Port Huron Northern more?
Yeah, my Port Huron High Big Reds.
Okay. Not Big Reds anymore.
Excuse me.
Right,
That's
right.
right. They are. What are they called?
I lost track of it. It's
Red Hawks?
Red Hawks. Yeah.
Yes. That's something I'm going to have to get
Right.
used to.
And I noticed, Brady and Dennis doing their sports show, they're catching themselves doing the same thing. Everybody
yes.
will for about a year or so.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Change.
Yeah.
It's just change.
Yeah.
But the Red Hawks, yes.
Yeah.
My wife and her entire family all went to Port Huron High.
Okay.
My brother-in-law was the head coach there for a long time, Ryan Mullins.
Okay.
He was a head football coach there. And his children are going through Port Huron High. Some have graduated, and my nieces and nephews, some still attend and play volleyball. My father-in-law, Mike Mullins, was a longtime DJ at
Yep.
WHLS.
Yep.
So there's quite a connection there, with Port Huron High and,
Sure.
and my family. Like I had mentioned before, I coached hockey at Northern. So it was really had a hard time.
That's a little difficult there.
They didn't allow that Northern stuff in the house. I had to take it off before I
They'd
got
let you okay with the Marysville Vikings, but the Northern, no.
Yeah, that was a little tough getting through the door with that.
Okay. So where did you decide to go to college afterwards, after high school?
My senior year of high school, I played hockey in Sarnia. And I was recruited by Ohio State to play, obviously, down there. And that's how I ended up going to Ohio State to play. And I played hockey for 4 years at Ohio State. At the end of my senior year, I was drafted in the 9th round by the Montreal Canadiens. So that kind of was the path I took that kind of led me to, going to Ohio State.
Okay.
Ended up being a Buckeye.
Okay, and what type of degree did you get there?
I actually got a degree in marketing.
Okay.
My junior year, I can remember it. I wanted to become a teacher. And at that point in time, you had to make progress towards a degree
Sure.
to keep your scholarship. And if I would have went back and started a teaching program, they wouldn't have allowed it. I would have put my scholarship in jeopardy. So I decided to get my degree in business, in marketing, and then went out into the business world for about 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Let's step back and talk about being drafted in the NHL. So you get drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. Tell me what happens after being drafted.
It was very interesting because I had played my senior year in Sarnia, and I knew we're the junior B level, which is the highest level of amateur. If you go any higher, then you get paid. You're considered a pro, and you can't go to college at that time.
Sure.
You know, so I had watched. It was 1985 draft. I had watched probably about the first 5 or 6 rounds, you know, and then I turned it off and I went,
Go to bed.
Went to bed.
Right.
And my mom woke me up, and on the front of the Times Herald, it said that I had been drafted in the 9th round by the Canadiens, and I had no idea. I had no clue. But they knew at that point in time that I'd be going to Ohio State and be playing there. They were treating that like a farm system,
Sure.
you know. And then at the end of your career, you can kind of see where you're at and judge from there.
No, you were a goalie.
Yep.
So at that time, you were playing for Ohio State, and did anything transpire with going to any junior Canadian system?
Yeah, one of my favorite hockey memories, and I think this is even above being drafted, is I was chosen to attend the U.S. Olympic Festival prior to the 1988 Olympics, and that's when they were all amateurs.
Okay.
But it was a pool of players that they thought had potential to make the Olympic team, and that was down in Houston, Texas. So I spent 2 weeks down in Houston playing hockey in that climate.
Right.
But it was still, they treated it just like Olympic Games. They had opening ceremonies. They had all the athletes that were potential Olympic athletes there. And it was at the University of Houston was one of the locations where we stayed. And it was just a fantastic experience, you know, to be there and to see how it worked. And that's one of my fondest memories of playing hockey.
Okay.
You know, got to meet a lot of people, got to meet the Olympic coach. There were 4 teams that they picked. They divided them up north, south, east, and west, and that's who they chose the Olympic team from. So a lot of the guys I played with, unfortunately I wasn't one of them, but I got to know them, and I got to see them, and I got to see what level they were, and they were extraordinary athletes. You know, so that was a great experience.
Now, between that time and, say, time at Ohio State, did you start at goalie, backup goalie?
I was
a little bit of both.
Anywhere from the number 1 guy and down to the number 3 guy.
Okay.
You know, it depended on the year and depended on how things were going. My senior year, I settled in at the number 2 role.
Okay.
And I saw limited time, but that was okay. You know, I accepted my role. The guy that played in front of me, he was a good goaltender. You know.
Did he make it to the NHL?
He was drafted by Vancouver, and he played in their farm system for a while. So
the thing that I've often seen in not just hockey, but almost any sport, but really more so in your position, is that you could be the greatest goalie of all time, but sometimes if you're sitting behind somebody that's better at that particular week or doesn't get injured, you're sort of in a point that's hard to go any further.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, as a competitor, you're never happy sitting on the bench,
Sure.
you know. But they did honor my scholarship for that
Sure.
senior year. And I knew my role, and it was clear going in. I wasn't real happy with it,
Sure.
but I accepted it, you know, and just kept working and going to the rink every day and doing the best that I could.
Now, how is that mentally from a position of, say, an 18 to 22, 23-year-old playing goalie? It's different than, I would say, a defenseman or a forward. You know, it's not even a question of making a mistake. It's a question of maybe a deflection or something going in the net, and then, you know, the spotlight's on you.
Right.
You know,
I equate it to being a quarterback.
Right.
You know, you make a mistake, and if you throw an interception, the receiver might have ran the wrong route.
Correct.
Or the ball
Nobody
was
knows
tipped.
that,
No.
except maybe the coach and maybe the player that ran it, but he's not going to say anything.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of the same thing being a goaltender. You know, there might be things that are out of your control. And, you know, I always jokingly when I coached told my goaltenders, just say the defenseman was standing in front of you.
Right.
Just say it went off. I really wouldn't do that, but you know what I mean?
Right.
There's a lot of variables that go into
Well, the
what
thing of
goes
it
on.
is, too, is that, you know, with traffic in front of the net, with deflections, I mean, you watch a game, and my goodness sakes, you're standing there looking directly ahead. It comes off somebody's shoulder or something, or a stick, and goes in.
Right.
You know, not as easy as it looks on TV.
No.
Yeah.
And today, I mean, you know, how athletic the players are and the
Yeah.
technology that they have. Pucks are coming at, you know, 100 miles an hour,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. So So in that time, how many games a year did they play in Big Ten hockey?
We were, at that time, we were part of the CCHA,
Yep.
and we played 32 games in the course of a season.
Okay.
And it was usually a Friday, Saturday. You know, you'd travel, play 2 games, unless 2 games on the road or 2 games
Sure.
at home, unless it was one of your rivals. You know, like we were rivals with Bowling Green.
Right.
So we would play a home and home with them. And then Miami of Ohio as well.
Sure, close by.
Yeah. If the travel was conducive, then we played home and home series.
A lot of bus rides.
A lot of bus rides. When we went up to the Sioux, that was one that, yeah.
It's got to be 12-hour bus ride?
Yeah, from Columbus,
Yeah.
that was a long trip.
Yeah, especially late at night coming home, I imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'll tell you, a lot of memories were made
Sure.
on those bus rides.
Sure.
You know, had a lot of fun.
Now, at the point that you were going to college, 85, 88, 89, did you have a goalie coach? It was just a goalie coach or not?
Yeah, we did. And it was a player that had played at Ohio State, a goaltender that played at Ohio State. And it was kind of a unique tie that he was part of the Port Huron Flags organization for several years.
So the name that anybody'd recognize?
Bill McKenzie was his name. And he played in Port Huron for a while, but he was property of the Colorado Rockies at the time. Prior to them being the Rockies, I can't remember what they were, but he was part of that team, that system.
So he was your goalie coach, and then a team I'm guessing would probably have at least 3 goalies?
Yeah, yep. At Ohio State, we had 2 scholarship goalies, and then we'd have a walk-on goaltender.
Okay. Pretty interesting then. With the CCHA, what is the typical makeup? Is that Midwest?
Yeah, the CCHA included teams from Michigan, Michigan State, Ferris State, Lake Superior, Western Michigan. And then in Ohio, we had Miami, Bowling Green, and then, of course, Ohio State.
Sure.
And then we had a team, my first year, the University of Illinois Chicago had a team. And that was pretty much the makeup of the CCHA.
Generally speaking, where did your team fall in the hierarchy of first to last?
I think our best year, we finished 1 point out of 4th place.
Okay.
Just missed a home ice, for the playoffs.
Sure.
And then my last year, we had to go to Michigan State. We finished 8th. They finished 1st, and they were the #1 team in the country.
So when Ron Mason was coaching?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Yep.
And they had several first-round draft picks.
Sure.
So we had to go up there and play, and it was a short series, but it was. They had a great team.
It's funny how, like, in different sports, different coaches sometimes have such a thing going on with regard to competitive nature and nobody getting to them. Ron Mason was one of those guys. It seemed like, now Red Berenson at Michigan was another one.
Right.
And it seemed like a couple years, one would be higher than the other, but they didn't seem to click at the same time necessarily.
Right.
And then in basketball, you get different things, like Ohio State's been really good at basketball the last number of years.
Yep.
But it's funny how it ebbs and flows with that coach. Like Michigan State, realistically, hasn't probably been really as competitive since Ron Mason was there, I'd say.
Right. Ron Mason built a program,
Yeah.
and he had one of those programs that every year he just reloaded.
Right.
Because the top players that weren't playing Junior A, they wanted to go to Michigan State to play.
Sure.
And Munn Ice Arena is just a beautiful, beautiful place to
Old barn
play.
in a sense, right?
Yeah. And that's the same as Michigan, Red
Yeah.
Berenson. Like, he built a program there as well.
Yeah.
Very well respected.
Oh, for sure.
Great place to play.
So you've got family now in Marysville, wife and children. Tell us who they are.
Well, I have my wife, Carrie, who I had said she went to Port Huron High, and she coached volleyball there for a while, and she's very athletic and played sports growing up through high school. And my son now, he graduated from Marysville and played football at Wayne State. He was a defensive end at Wayne State. And now he started his own business with Dennis Stuckey. He got stuck on sports, which he loves.
Yep.
He's been doing broadcasting for Oakland University. He's doing Wayne State football this year.
Okay.
He did the USPBL down at Jimmy John's Field. So he's really giving it a go.
Sure.
And he's trying to make it in the broadcast market, which he's working hard.
Oh, yeah.
And
I see he and Dennis when they come down to East China Stadium. And I do tease Brady about him being the best dressed guy in place because he's got a suit on or a tie on. He's the only guy in there with a tie on, right?
Yeah, he likes to keep it professional,
right?
You know, and we're pretty proud of him because he's really worked hard.
Mm-hmm.
They just had their 1 millionth listen,
sure,
which is his business continues to grow, and you know, hopefully he keeps working hard and keeps.
Yeah. You're familiar with Brady because he's the only guy that shows up in the press box with a suit and tie.
Yeah, yes. Like I said, we're pretty proud of him, and he likes to keep it professional.
Yep.
And he likes to do what he can to promote his business, and you know, like hopefully it keeps growing.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is the way radio has changed. Podcasts have come out, and what's interesting about it is that you can stop and start and listen to whatever you want when you want. So, like, I'll cut the grass and listen to those guys talk about their thing, and you know, I think I'm 3/4 of the way through the last one. So if you stop doing something, you just stop it, start it again.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too that is they can cover so much territory in a sense. You know, from Algonac to Croswell, and from Croswell west to say Yale or something. And they've got sort of a good little gig going on in that area to cover high school sports because nobody else does it.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think they found an avenue that not many other people are pursuing, or at least not in depth like they do.
It's like, you know, you can remember when you were in high school, or when Brady was in high school. Jim Weimer from the Times-Herald was at all these events covering them, and other ones too. Paul Costanzo and a few other people were covering events.
Yeah.
But the newspapers have all shrunk, and Times-Herald has one person covering sports.
Yeah.
So it's hard to do much of anything.
Yes.
So that gives them a little bit of a niche there to cover because nobody else does it.
Yeah, exactly. And you had said that, and even with who's Brandon? Is it Welper, the guy covering for?
Yes.
He's a fantastic guy.
Yeah.
And he's limited with what
he can only go so many places. And I think when you look at, like, for example, football is going to start up. Well, if you got a Friday night and there's literally about 8 games in the area, right? From Croswell to Yale to Marine City to Marysville to St. Clair to Algonac.
Right.
You know, and then a few more. You can only cover one.
Yeah, exactly. You can only be in one place.
Yeah, and it's hard to cover a game if you're not there.
Yes.
So,
and I do believe they have him doing other things as well.
Sure.
So, you know, he doesn't have a full-time job dedicated to just high school sports.
Right. So it's a good little niche.
Yeah. Yeah. It sure is.
So what else going on? So you've retired, but you haven't retired in the common sense of you were a teacher at St. Clair High School, and you said you just retired, which realistically isn't going to come to fruition in your mind probably till September when they go back to school, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just had this discussion with my wife. We walked into Meijer and we saw the back to school sales. And usually I start to get a rash and start to get, a little anxiety. Yeah. And I just kept walking by, and it was kind of nice, to say, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Right. I am going to miss aspects of teaching, that's for sure.
Sure.
And relationships, that part of it's going to be.
So what did you teach at St. Clair High School?
I taught business.
Okay.
I taught an intro to business class, which I had first-year business students. I taught accounting. And then I had second-year business students where we ran the school store.
Oh, okay.
So it was a great experience.
Very interesting. Any other children besides Brady?
Nope, Brady's our only one.
Just needed to make sure because I didn't want to get a letter or a mother or daughter mad or anything like that. So
my wife will be emailing you shortly.
Right.
No, just Brady.
Okay. So then we can probably expect you to be helping out Stuck on Sports before too long.
Well, yeah, that's been tossed around. Especially they need somebody to call on their accounts,
sure.
On sales, and yeah, they have been kind of hitting me up to do that. But I think it's just a wonderful avenue they're pursuing, and I just think so. Any way I can help them, I'll help them out.
Well, when you look at the Blue Water area, I think we talked before the cameras went on. It's sort of like I say, Marine City, Marysville, St. Clair, Algonac, Port Huron Northern, and you're all against each other, so you're foes, and you're not rooting on. Marysville's not going to root on Port Huron High, but when you cross that threshold of getting your diploma, it's like you're friends now.
Yes, exactly. And I think, with travel leagues
Sure.
And with technology, the kids have relationships. They know each other, even in high school,
Right.
So I think they're more familiar than maybe in our day,
Sure.
when, our paths, we'd only know somebody if our
Right.
paths crossed.
Yep.
Now social media, they can see people on social media, they contact each other, they play in travel leagues together. So I think you're 100% correct with
Yep.
that.
And then being a teacher, I'm sure you must have picked up things not only from teachers you had in the past, but also from your sporting of playing college hockey.
Oh yeah, my mentor teacher is a gentleman named Bill Getz who taught at Marysville, and I did my student teaching with him, and man, did he teach me so much. He taught me so much about the classroom and relationships with students,
Sure.
which is so important.
Yep.
And I learned the one semester I taught with him, to this day, I'm thankful for having that experience.
Sure.
Because I think that made me a better teacher. As far as coaching is concerned, I played for some really good coaches, and I played for some coaches that's not how I wanted to coach.
So you learn from both ends.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
you take the good and the bad, and you try and do the best that you can.
Sure. I always say that, our area, because it's a bunch of small towns, really has been blessed with the amount of good coaches. And I'm not going to pick out every name, but I'm going to pick out, a few. But you got Tony Monty in St. Clair. You had
Yes.
Paul Jackson in Marysville. You had Walt
Phenomenal.
Braun in Marysville.
Yep.
You had Eddie Kindle in Port Huron.
Yep.
You had your brother-in-law in Port Huron. Marine City, Bob Siskevich, Tony Scarcelli, Ron Glodich. Elginex had the gentleman that runs the cross-country program for umpteen
Oh
years.
yes.
I'm having a mental fate on the name, but you get all these different coaches, and you go, wow, there's been a lot of good coaches.
Yeah.
To mentor yourself with and pick different pieces from different people.
Right,
Yeah.
right. We really have been blessed. And all those people that you have mentioned, I think they got into coaching for the right reasons. Because they wanted to see young men and women be successful
Sure.
and achieve. And it was beyond the wins and losses.
Right.
It was about growth.
Right.
And seeing kids grow into roles and becoming successful, no matter what field
Yeah.
they chose.
Yeah.
And I think that's what all those people have in common. John Davidson,
Yep.
here, a phenomenal coach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you literally, if you picked each sport, you could run from, say, a Croswell to an Elginex to a Yale and pick up about 5 from each sport
Right.
that have excelled excessively at their particular sport.
Yeah.
And some in multiple sports.
Sure.
It's like we talked earlier about, Marysville football. When Walt Braun was there, she was chugging along.
Right.
like a 18-wheeler with a steam ahead behind her, right?
Yes, exactly.
And that's sort of where Marine City is now with what they've taken over, and it's interesting to see in different, it's even like I look at Ryan Rathje, what he's done in Marysville.
Yep. Yep.
He does softball and he does basketball
Right.
for girls.
Right.
And what's the common denominator? They seem to just win.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. And Ryan has a demeanor about him that's just phenomenal for coaching. If you ever watch him, on the sidelines, or he just maintains.
He's not a up and down, and down.
Nope. And
Right.
I think his players would respond to that because they get in pressure situations and they look over and he's just calm, cool, and collected. And
Right.
I think his players fed off that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we covered the whole gamut, so thanks for coming by.
Yes, thank you
Good
very
luck,
much.
Good luck in retirement.
I
and
appreciate that.
Looking forward to do whatever it is you want to do.
Thank you.
Or not do.
Or not to.
Right.
Well, my wife will have something to say about
There you
that.
go. Thanks for watching. Number 69 in the books. The phone number's on the list there. And if you know of anybody that would be interesting to have here, like we have Roger Beedon today, we appreciate it. 586-707-5811. And until next time, we'll see you on In the Zone. Thank you.